Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Radha Temple. Please, can we rise for Srila Prabhupada's Guru Puja? Hare Krishna. Okay,
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Bando moi savadana mate. Bando moi savadana mate. Yahar prasade bai e bhavatoriya jai. Sade bai e bhavatoriya. Krishna prapti hoya hate. Krishna prapti hoya hoite. Guru mukha padma vakya sitete koriya kya. Arna koriyo mane asha. Arna koriyo mane asha. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamajana. Dilunje aran me jan me Prabhu se. Chakudan dilunje jan me Prabhu se. Chakudan dilunje jan me Prabhu se. Devi gyan hide prokasito. Devi gyan hide prokasito. Prema bhakti aha hoite avidya vinasa jate. Prema bhakti aha hoite avidya vinasa jate. પ્રેમ ભક્તિ આ હોય છે અવિદ્યા વિનાશ જાતે વિજ્ઞાય રચરિતો વિજ્ઞાય રચરિતો શ્રી ગુરુ કરુણા સિંધુ અધમા જનારા બંધુ 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 લોકનાથ લોકરાજીવાયના લોકનાથ લોકરાજીવાયના લોકનાથ લોકરાજીવાયના લોકનાથ લોકરાજીવાયના હા હા પ્રભુ કરો દોયા દેહો મોરે પાદા ચાયા હા હા પ્રભુ કરો દોયો દેહો મોરે પાદા ચાયા હા હા પ્રભુ કરો દોયો દેહો મોરે પાદા ચાયા હા હા પ્રભુ કરો દોયો દેહો મોરે પાદા ચાયા હા હા પ્રભુ કરો દોયા દેહો મોરે પાદા ચાયા હા હા પ્રભુ કરો દોયો દેહો મોરે પાદા ચાયા એબે જાસ કુસુક ત્રિભુવાયના એબે જાસ કુસુક ત્રિભુવાયના એબે જાસ કુસુક ત્રિભુવાયના શિલા પ્રભુપાદ પતિત પવાયના 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 જય પ્રભુપદા 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 જય પ્રભુપદા જય પ્રભુપદા 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 શિલ પ્રભુપદા જય પ્રભુપદા 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 શિલ પ્રભુપદા श्रील प्रभुपाद की।
श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिते नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिशोतारिणे। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिशोधारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद। कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण न हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Ram, Ram. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Om Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jai Radha Radhanath Radha Radhanath Radhe, Jai Radha Radhanath Radha Radhanath Radhe. Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Gaura Hari Hare Ram. Giri Govardhan Jaya 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 Giri Govardhan Neta Gora Haribo 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 Gora Haribo Neta Gora Haribo 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pari Brajagacharya Astottara Sarashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pari Brajagacharya Astottara Sarashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय. श्री वृंदावन धाम की नीलाचल जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय. श्री धाम मायापुर की जय. गंगा माई की जय. जमुना माई की जय. भक्ति देवी की जय. श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की जय. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What's next? Oh, somebody is speaking that song.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to today's Sunday Love Feast program on this beautiful, warm first Sunday of December. Devotees, welcome, and a special welcome to anyone who may be here today for the first time. Devotees, a gentle reminder to please remember to turn off your cell phones or have it on silent mode, please. So today we have two esteemed Matajis to give us class today. And they are Her Grace Karunamayi Devi Dasi and Her Grace Krsangi Radhe Dasi. Their topic for today is child protection and relationships in love and service. And this is in keeping with the 16 days of activism against women and child abuse. So a little bit about Karunamayi Mataji. She's a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj, and Mataji has been in ISKCON since birth. She serves as the CPO director for South Africa, and she's a pediatric oncologist, and she runs her own oncology unit, and she also serves on the International Bhaktivedanta Medical Association, where she chairs the Women and Child Care Committee. She is also on the executive board of the Vaishnavi Ministry for South Africa. Krsangi Radhe Mataji, she is a disciple of His Holiness Indradumna Swami Maharaj, and she has also been raised in ISKCON. Her parents are founding members in ISKCON in KZN. Krsangi Radhe Mataji is an educator in the public sector, and she's a certified neurolinguistic programming practitioner, and she's a certified mindset coach. She is the minister of the Vaishnavi Ministry in South Africa. And she serves as the Director of Communications for ISKCON South Africa, and she's also the PRO of Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Temple. So we are honored to have these two knowledgeable and esteemed Matajis to present today's topic to us. So let's welcome Karunamayi Mataji and Krsangi Radhe Mataji. Hari Bol.
श्री राधा राधानाथ की राधा माधव की जय। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, राधा माधव गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोधनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे, जय राधा राधानाथ राधा राधानाथ राधे, निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौर हरि बोल, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Karunamayi, Devi, Dasi, if you could please join me. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Once again, I'd like to welcome you to this afternoon Sunday Love Feast program. A different kind of program this afternoon, but a very apt one, because it's conversations that we need to regularly have, and I believe personally that having these discussions just once a year just ain't good enough. So dialogue such as this, and you perhaps, if you just walked in and you're thinking, what am I talking about? Well, in South Africa and across the globe, during the period from 25th of November to the 10th of December, it is billed as the 16 days of activism against women and child abuse. So our Sunday Love Feast, you may wonder, as a spiritual society, is there a need to talk about all of this? And I'd like for you to take a moment to actually ask yourself, is there a need to talk about it? What does your heart tell you? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, so there is such a need within our community, our society, and for the simple reason that, I have these conversations so often, that we are a spiritual society. And we are in this abode of Sri Sri Radha Radhanath, this most beautiful temple. But we also have to be mindful and real that we are living in the material world. So our journey in terms of spiritual life and Krishna consciousness is a journey. Exactly what that is. It's these little steps that we try to follow in a very prescribed and regulated manner that's been presented by our acharyas, that's been given to us now by Srila Prabhupada, the founder acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to which we are eternally grateful, to spreading this word, translating all those books, and giving us such a fundamental knowledge in a very systematic and practical way. But we also have to remember we are living day-to-day lives outside of our spiritual circle. And what happens there is that when we tend to move forward in our material lives, these material instances does crop up. So maybe our discussion this afternoon here between Karunamayi and myself, we talk about different aspects of abuse, different aspects of emotional, physical abuse, and it may not pertain to you personally. And I say this often, that you may just feel, no, this does not affect me. I'm going to switch off, or why am I even seated here today? But the message that it carries is that each of us has a voice, male or female. And that voice needs to be amplified to help others who may be in the situation. Now, I have, just like Karunamayi, I have 2 young daughters as well. And who knows what holds for the next generation or the future generation. So by having these conversations and by keeping it very real in terms of what Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, has stated around this, gives us clarity. There's no gray area. right? We all know that in terms of the law, South African law, international law, abuse, there is zero tolerance. But in our spiritual law books, is there any leeway? Not at all, right? There's no way that Srila Prabhupada acknowledges, condones to say that there is some sort of leeway in terms of child or woman abuse. Let me, before we begin, dispel the notion that women are less important. I don't know where that cropped up from. But here Srila Prabhupada and his disciples have actually spoken so much about their experiences with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada had a lot of female disciples and leading disciples as well. And in their interaction, they explain, Urmila Mataji, she was here a few years back, just before the pandemic, I think around 2017, where the women's ministry had hosted her here at our temple. And she spoke so fondly of Srila Prabhupada and his association with her, that he engaged her in different services. We know of the wonderful cook, Yamuna Devi. And Srila Prabhupada gave her such the esteemed honor of her singing internationally every morning at 7 a.m. to greet the deities. It's her voice. So Srila Prabhupada gave his female disciples the power to do the service, to take leadership roles, to go up on the altar, to become Brahmins, to perform arti and worship of the deities. So what does that mean? It means that women can be abused. Does Srila Prabhupada acknowledge it? Does he say it's right? Does he believe that women are very less than men? Not at all. If he has actually empowered these Vaishnavis back in the day with Brahman initiation and said to them, go up on the altar and worship the deity of Krishna and Radharani, he's given them the most important benefit. Another point that I'd like to raise before we get into actually some stats and some figures and all of those kind of things is that the fundamentals of ISKCON is that we are all the spirit soul. So if we have to look at it in that discussion and in that means, we shouldn't even be having this discussion, right? That's the basic of it all. And I always try and summarize it in that way. If we're really following the Bhagavad Gita and what Lord Krishna has said, what does he say? That we are all spiritual soul. So we go against, we are not this body, right? We are the soul within the body. And at the moment of death, the soul actually gets into another body, depending on our karmic reaction. So if we have to look at that at a very basic level, and I'm breaking this down for you, that there should be no reason to discriminate between men and women if we are all the spirit soul. So can you really say, because woman is the weaker gender, because this is my wife, she's subservient to me, this is my partner, this is my child, I have the authority to beat him or her? As a teacher myself, I see that very often. Dealing with parents, and I'm sure Karuna in your workspace as a pediatrician, you see that in your workspace as well. It's just that authority to say, well, I have this authority. That's my child. I can hit the child. The child has really done a misdemeanor. And or another form, and Karuna will get into all of that, is the things that we take for granted. It's neglect. It's a form of abuse for women as well. So if you're in a partnership, if you are married and you are neglectful of your wife based on punishing her for certain things, if you withhold some money from her, if you neglect her care, her safe space as a form of punishment, that's also a form of abuse. Now you may think that no, she's done this to deserve this reaction. X and Y, we've done this, she's done this, so I will not give her any money. She's done this, so I will not give her any protection or shelter. It's a form of abuse. There's no reason that's logical enough to actually abuse somebody else. Coming back to the fundamental of what Srila Prabhupada has said, what Lord Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, that if we are seeing each other as respected Vaishnavas, all children of God, there shouldn't even be this discussion to say that I'm more superior than you, you are inferior to me. Because we are all trying our best, das anudas, to be the servant of the servant of the servant. So just to, as a pre-frame for our discussion this afternoon, I thought I'll just set the tone and the mood to understand that yes, spiritual knowledge is there, but how we action it in the material world is what's important. So today we're going to be speaking around the 16 days of activism against women and child abuse. I am a part of the International Vaishnavi Ministry, and there we have a body where every country has a ministry that is set up to take care of the needs of children. Karunamayi, she's the director of the Child Protection Office here in South Africa. Just like the Vaishnavi Ministry, the Child Protection Office the Child Protection International has offices in every center around the world. We have policies in place, we have screening in place, and there's a whole lot of different mechanisms that we use that's been well thought out based on history. Okay, ISKCON also is not, we have been aware of several matters internationally regarding these sensitive topics, and therefore the governing body commission has taken time to implement and set up these structures in order for us to move forward in a very safe space. When you come to the temple, you want to feel safe. When you associate with devotees, you want to feel safe. You want this association as your circle. So we have all of that in place, and therefore we're here to present to you this afternoon ways in which you can also help each other, you could help yourself, and you can connect with the Child Protection Office or the Vaishnavi Ministry to seek help as well. So, just going to go through. So as you can see, the International Vaishnavi Ministry, we have safe families and strong communities. And why do we use that little slogan for this year? Is for the simple reason that safe families create strong communities. Everything is actually starting from the family. You know that we hear this phrase so often, it takes a village to raise a child, right? So it's all of us seated here, that every single child, it's our duty to raise them well. Doesn't mean that if you see something happening across the road from you, you turn a blind eye, right? So when we have these safe families, we are raising a strong community. And not only our community in terms of ISKCON, but the community at large. So we have our 16 days of activism campaign. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So our it's Safer Families 2023, and something that from the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Srila Prabhupada's purport from the Srimad Bhagavatam, I quote, "In the glorious days, or before the advent of the age of Kali, the Brahmanas, the cows, the women, the children, and the old men were properly given protection." And that's a purport in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Srila Prabhupada. So, interestingly enough, Srila Prabhupada references that before the advent of the age of Kali, and as I mentioned earlier, that we are now in a very materialistic space, and we are trying to be the best human beings in this time or in this age. We are here today, we are on the spiritual journey, right? But before the age of Kali, the Brahmanas, the cows, the women, the children, and old men were properly given protection. Now, that's open to interpretation, right? Today we'll analyze and we'll interpret what does Srila Prabhupada mean by properly given protection. It means taking care of each other. From the cows to the children, to the old maid, to the woman. There was no discrimination at all there. There was proper care given at every level. So there's 7 types of gender-based violence, GBV as we call it, and I'll go through it very quickly with you. And why we are doing this is an educational drive as our responsibility to our community. Physical violence, as we all know, right? We don't need to unpack that. Verbal violence, and I'm using the words here violence because sometimes when we call it abuse, it's kind of toned down. The word violence is a bit more apt here because often the scars, you've heard this before, the scars that appear on your body fade away in time. But the words that are used are forever etched in your hearts and your minds and your brain. And unconsciously, these things come up in our life. So when there's violence performed against us, men and women, now I'm opening this up because I do believe it's a discussion for men and women alike, and I'm hearing that more. I'm hearing that when we have these discussions, even on radio, that people will message and say, but what about the men who are also going through this? So I'm seeing some smiles here. So yeah, it is true, and I'm not going to shy away from that topic because it does happen both ways. As we said, that we are living in a very materialistic age. So I'm going to open this up to both. The verbal violence is real. And as a coach myself, I see this so often that some things, especially when it comes to abuse, it's etched in the mind for many years to come. And I speak to women who say, you know, all of this has gone. All my marks have gone, but I just can't move past that. Right? Everything, my scars do not appear anymore. But I just can't move past that. I can't carry on with my life as normal because of this experience. And that verbal, psychological, the next point there, it is also very, very, very demeaning. So as much as that big red flag there under the first one, physical, but the other ones are so, so, so hurtful as well. And it has many years of lasting impact. And what happens as mothers, we try and just say, yes, 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 we go on with our lives, but it actually impacts our children as well. And we don't know it, that we are creating generational trauma. That's what we are creating if we don't really unpack this and deal with it as a society. Sexual violence, again, that even if you are in a marriage, everything has to be consensual. So we know of rape, we know, and I'm sure Karunamayi is going to get into a bit of that in terms of children and sexual violence. And then the next one is socio-economic violence, and I touched a bit on that earlier, where we look at our socio-economic status and try and withhold our finances, withhold money for punishment, as punishment to the spouse, the intimate partner, even the child. Domestic violence or intimate relationships, that's a big one. And one of the things that I always remember during our family meetings during COVID-19 with our South African president, he mentioned unequivocally that South Africa also has a very silent pandemic going around, and that being GBV, domestic violence. And that was something he highlighted. And during lockdown, the number of domestic violence cases that were lodged was unbelievable. For the simple reason that everybody was at home and there was a lot of abuse taking place within that lockdown period. Usually people are going to school, to work, and you come back home and the abuse is there, but it's not to the level as it was during that 3 weeks or 21 days of lockdown. Because every families were confined to that space, and that tension, that frustration came out there. And another fact is that under the essential services, where you remember we couldn't leave home and so on, we needed to have permits, but one of the things that you could leave your home for is to go to the police station to report a case of GBV, because that was deemed critical at that point. Harassment and sexual harassment, that's also a part of it. 2 in 3 women report that they or a woman they know have ever experienced violence. And that's really, really an interesting stat for us. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because I want to hand over to Karunamayi as well. So I'm just going to read this to you. Dear victim, you do not have to make your abuser feel better by forgiving them. That's another thing we often see as well. No, you know what, he'll try again, he'll be better. You know, the pledge of being better. They are supposed to be making you feel better by owning the wrong done and making it right. It's not your job to clean up their mess. Until they do, it is wise for your body to feel uncomfortable around them. They are not safe and your body knows it. That's a boundary. Sometimes we get caught up in saying, no, have you heard this before? Maybe not to you, but a family member, we'll try again. And there's no harm in trying again. But when it becomes a cycle, what happens? You have to create those boundaries for your own protection, because one day when that you just give in and give in and give in and don't take any action, what happens? It could lead to something very severe. And if children are witnessing this, as I said, it causes generational trauma. Many people don't understand that. Many people don't understand what children witness at home, whether it's verbal abuse, whether it's physical abuse. Children are very impressionable, and it has lasting impression of them. I thought love meant shielding you from the cost of your behavior by taking it on myself, but I wasn't loving you when I did that. I was abandoning me. Basically, this talks to our own self-respect. And if we have less self-respect, we are going to be opening ourselves more in the name of love. And we have a poster that will be shared on our WhatsApp channel during this week. I love the quote. It says, love should not hurt, right? Love should not hurt, whether it's from a parent to a child, whether it's from a husband to a wife, in that any sort of relationship. If you love somebody, it should not hurt, right? That is not real love then. Red flags often start off as soft. Hey, I don't see any red here. So we make excuses for what happened by making excuses for unacceptable behavior is how we communicate that we will accept it. So there's no red flag. It happened one time. It won't happen again. I don't think so. Maybe. Let's try again. And then it happens again. And then there's an apology, then you forgive, then you continue that pattern until it happens 6 or 7 times. And now you say, oops, I didn't realize I should have left the second time. Right? And you're so deep into this now that you've kind of shielded yourself, you've protected yourself, you've got used to this sort of life that it's become acceptable. Should it really be acceptable? These are all things that I'd like for you to take back and think about. And Srila Prabhupada, again, he says in a room conversation in New York, April 12th, 1969, oh, you have done this? Immediately, some criminal case. But in uncivilized society, they don't care for court or civilized way. So what is Srila Prabhupada saying here? He's saying that when the degradation of society, or as we progress in the age of Kali, we become an uncivilized society. So at that point, Nobody cares for court cases. And as we can see that right now, right? If you have a criminal investigation, how long does it take for a conclusion? And it's always that you are innocent until proven guilty. And then the lady has to go with all her medical reports, all her psychological reports, has to show history. How painful is that process on its own? So what to speak now, Srila Prabhupada speaking here, he's already saying in 1969 that in an uncivilized society, even the courts are not going to be functioning in a civilized way. And again, in our criminal justice system, policies, acts are there, our South African criminal acts are there, but it's a long process. So at the end of the day, we have to take charge of our own lives. That's what it is about. In South Africa, 1,101 women and 319 children, and this is a stat from this year, February, were murdered in those 3 months. In total, 7,555 people were killed daily between October and December of last year, 2022. 12,419 rape cases were reported at the police, showing an increase of 9.8% compared to the same period in 2021. So within 3 months, 7,555 people were killed October to December, and interestingly, 1,101 and 319 children were murdered in that time. So intimate partner violence, I'm going to go through this very quickly. It's what is the number one abuse in the world? That's GBV, right? So, and intimate partner happening within the home. Often we say it will never happen and so on, and community and society actually puts that kind of plague around speaking about this openly. We feel ashamed. We don't want family to know. We don't want friends to know. What will the community say? I will let my family name down, right? But I think we've come to a point where we need to have these real conversations. Save yourself. There's nobody handling this with you. When you are in that situation, it's you and you alone. So is there any name attached to it? You've got to save your own sanity, and you've got to do what's right for you. And that's the message here today. So there's some emergency contact numbers that I've put up, and I will be happy to share these slides with you, whoever wants it after the program. So you could contact any one of these emergency helplines, and remember, this is not directed especially at you, but for those, the word goes around, and you would be able to help others as well. And again, just the power and control, as I spoke about earlier, that a male-dominated society should not exist if we have to follow true Vedic practice. Srila Prabhupada didn't want that. According to the Bhagavad Gita, we are all spirit souls, so there's no differentiation or barrier between the weaker genders. Now, I'm going to hand over, there's so much more to say under this topic, but I'm going to quickly hand over to Karunamayi so she could also speak about her topic of child abuse. We will have an open session after Karunamayi for questions and answers and some interaction. So if you would like to add anything, share something with us or ask a question, please think about it in the meantime. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So thank you, Krsangi, Radhe. We both are very passionate about these two topics. And whenever we end up discussing these things, it's always a pleasure to do it with my friend who's also shares the same vision with regards to these issues. I'm going to take a little direction, a detour. So Krsangi Radhe spoke about a little bit about the loving relationships, and with me speaking about the topic of child abuse, some of you may feel like, is this appropriate for a Sunday class? And these things don't happen in ISKCON. As I go through the presentation, I want you to introspect and ask yourselves these questions. Is it really not within ISKCON? I often describe, whenever I'm speaking to some devotees, everybody seems to think that if you are in a church or if you are in a temple, that these sort of material vices, we are free from that, right? But unfortunately, what ISKCON, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, fortunately, what I describe ISKCON as being a washing machine, where you put in your dirty linen, and the purificatory process of being in the movement allows us to come out of it clean. But during that purificatory process, you're going to have people with anartas that are going to be coming out. And this is why we are not exempt from child abuse or gender-based violence, as Krsangi Radhe Mataji has mentioned. Okay. So to start off, I don't know if it's projecting very well because we're behind light here. Srila Prabhupada says that the protection of children gives the human form of life its best chance to prepare the way of liberty from material bondage. Not just protection of children binds one to household life, to prepare the way of liberty from material bondage, right? Protection of children. There's a letter to Hari Griva where he says, please also take care of the children. They are our future hopes. Some facts. Child abuse occurs in every culture, class, and religion. Child abuse does not only affect those that are poor or from low socioeconomic circumstances. The abuser is often the most trusted person in a child's life. 1 in 10 children, so that's 10%. So if you look around the room, we have children here. 1 in every 10 of those children may get sexually abused before they turn 18 years of age. We hope that that is not happening within ISKCON, but as I said, we are aware of circumstances where it does. 78% of child abuse is neglect, and children need adults who know what to look for and what to do. And this is why this talk is aimed at each and every one of you. If we look at the lifetime effects of abuse, Krsangi Radhe Mataji pointed to the number of children that have died from abuse. Now, this abuse is not just physical abuse, it also includes neglect, it includes sexual abuse with the emotional trauma that is attached to it, and suicide. We do have a lot of that that's coming to the fore. There's a lot of it that you see more in the UK and the US because people are more vocal about it. However, in South Africa, the cases of children that have to seek psychological help is increasing. And you'll be surprised. We liaise with devotee psychologists. Patient confidentiality is of utmost importance. However, you'll be surprised the amount of trauma that some of these little Vaishnavi children go through. The youngest children are the most vulnerable, and about 24% of children in the first year of life will experience some victimization. And it's not just the emotional cost, there's also a financial aspect that is associated with abuse. So child protection and the law, there's 3 laws that govern child abuse in South Africa. The common one is the Children's Act. I just want to highlight that if you are a teacher, Krsangi Radhe can attest to that, anyone working with children, you have to be familiar with the Children's Act. And what does our Act say? It says that in all matters pertaining to children, the standard is that the child's best interest is of paramount importance, and it obliges any person who believes a child may be abused to report it to the Department of Social Development, any organization, or a police official. And a person reporting in good faith with no successful outcome of persecution may not be sued. So in other words, if you have a suspicion of child abuse and you take it to the authorities and it does not end up in a prosecution, you will not be sued or for anything, defamation of character or anything of that sort. Right? Criminal law mandates that every adult who believes a child is being sexually abused to report it to the SAPS. A failure to report it is a crime. Okay? Child victims often know the perpetrator, and what this shows us, this is international stats, and what they show us is at least 93% of people know their perpetrator. Right? 7% are strangers, 59% are acquaintances, and up to a third of them are family members. This is why we are talking about this issue today. Types of abuse, there's different types of abuse. Neglect, physical abuse, Krsangi Radhe has touched on them. For children, the commonest you would see is neglect. We may think if we don't see the scars, if we don't see bruises, that we don't have child abuse happening in our society. But neglect is a form of child abuse. I just want to bring or highlight a little example for you. In ISKCON, we all are encouraged to do devotional service. Part of that devotional service may involve serving at the temple, cooking a Sunday love feast, engaging in deity worship. But if you have children, looking after your children is the greatest form of devotional service. Right? Srila Prabhupada explains in many places where the children, our Vaishnav children, are our future of ISKCON, and they need to be nourished and cared for. How many of you can safely say that there hasn't been a time period where your children have been left unattended, you've chosen to prioritize devotional service, and felt pressured to meet your devotional service demand, and the children ended up being neglected? I just want you to think about it. There was one circumstance in Houston Temple where they had a single mom who had 2 children, and she was being pressurized to do devotional service. That left her children unattended at home, and they were young, and they had no means of preparing food for themselves, etc. The temple president took it upon themselves to find a way to assist in caring for the children so that the mom could engage safely in devotional service so the children were not neglected. Okay? So neglect is not just abandonment. Right? There's varying forms of neglect, which would include physical neglect, which is failing to provide adequate shelter, safety, medical neglect, not taking your child for care when they need that, educational neglect, not providing education, supervisory neglect, failure to supervise the child, exposing a child to hazardous or unsanitary conditions in the home. Krsangi Radhe touched on a child being a witness to domestic violence. So that emotional trauma that a child experiences, you may think, okay, but I'm not hitting my child. I'm not being physically abusive to my child. But each time you as a family unit, husband and wife, fight amongst each other and your children are hearing this, that is a form of child abuse. And emotional neglect, being indifferent to your child's needs if your child is asking for attention, or if you continuously neglect them, isolate them. Those are all forms of child neglect. Physical abuse, many of you are familiar with this. So what does that actually, you see the scars. But what are the other subtle signs that a child may be experiencing physical abuse? The child may have sudden changes in eating or sleeping patterns, bedwetting or nightmares, inappropriate sexual behavior, poor hygiene, or they may want to avoid a certain place or an adult. And many children end up with depression. Depression is not reserved for adults. Okay? Emotional abuse. So children are being exposed or spoken to cruelly. They're made to feel bad, worthless, unloved, or undeserving of love and care. And this is abuse that is most prevalent, but very difficult to identify. So I want us all to go home today and introspect our language, the vocabulary that we use in our own homes, and ask ourselves, are we contributing to the emotional abuse of our children? Right? So being yelled at regularly, verbal attacks, being told they are bad, stupid, useless, ugly, and those that are emotionally abused may demonstrate extreme anxiety, depression, withdrawal, self-destructive and aggressive behaviors. What happens if the child does show any of these signs? One needs to ask ourselves, so this is why we are presenting this at the Sunday class. As Krsangi Radhe mentioned, it takes a community to raise a child. Each and every one of you that come to the program are exposed to our little Vaishnav children. And each one of you need to be aware for any of these signs. And if you see any of these things that are occurring, or if you see something that is worrying to you, please bring it up to your local child protection team members. And in Shri Shri Radha Radhanath, we have Mother Radhika, Jai Radhika, that's there, Radhika Sunji, sorry, and we have Taralika Mataji. Maybe Radhika Sunji Mataji, can you just stand up so everybody can see you? I don't want to lose this opportunity to introduce you. That's Mother Radhika Sunji, and she is the Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Child Protection Team member. So if you see any of these things, please go and see Mataji, and please be rest assured that all of these complaints and issues will be handled in the utmost confidentiality. Okay, sexual abuse, many of you are familiar with this. I will not spend too much of detail into it. But what I would like to talk about is the effects of child abuse on children. The physical effects, lots of studies look into the brain and cognitive developmental problems that children have, where they have learning disabilities, poor health, and some of them permanent injury. Right? Emotional abuse, 80% of those abused have one or more psychological disorder, either an eating disorder, anxiety, depression, suicidal attempts. And abused children may have more delinquency and crime, with many of those that engage in drug abuse or drug use come from broken homes where there are domestic violence, early pregnancy, and low academic achievement. This is a picture depicting a child's normal brain. And here you see that there's nice spaces. It's a big brain. There's not a lot of space here that you see in between. And here, which is the fluid that's in the brain, you can see the size. This is a brain of a child from Romania, where the child suffered severe sensory deprivation. Right? So neglect. And what you can appreciate is that the spaces where there's fluid filled in the water there's a little more. The brain spaces, the cortex is actually shrunken. And this has physical changes in a child's brain, as well as the long-lasting effects which is seen through cognitive impairment and other behavioral abnormalities, depression, all of these things that is irreversible. The most influential period for a child's brain development is between the ages of 2 and 5 years. Children who are exposed to child abuse, neglect during that period can have long-lasting effects, right? So psychological and developmental delays, loss of trust, a sense of betrayal, devotee children then lose faith in devotees and the spiritual process. And I'm sure those of you who've been in ISKCON long enough know some devotee child who does not want to be part of the movement anymore. And you may ask yourself, but why? These are devotee children. They grew up in the environment. Why have they shunned away from the process? We are the examples for our children. And if we do not exhibit good Vaishnav behavior, which child will want to stay in ISKCON and take to the process? It starts with us. Okay. There's also links to children who have early childhood abuse and neglect, having more heart disease, having more obesity, and 32% more likely to attempt suicide. Okay, so if you look at children in the past, of all those who were abused as a family member, 36% went on to abuse an adult partner, and 41% of adults had a child at home who may have witnessed an abuse. What does that translate into? A third of them who witnessed domestic abuse went on to abuse their own children or be abused by a partner. What does Srila Prabhupada say? In Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada says, now how to take care of them, referring to children. He was perplexed. Women, children, brahmana, and old men and cows, they must be taken first care. Children, and who is taking care of the children? Who is taking care of the women? And who is taking care of the brahmanas? There is no brahmana. Even there are some brahmanas we are creating now. Who is taking care of us? What do we understand by the statement? Srila Prabhupada is saying that a brahmana is there to take care of the vulnerable. And if we as brahmanas are not taking care of the weak in our, well, I shouldn't say weak, but those that require protection, then we cannot call ourselves brahmanas. What is the role of the temple and the community when it comes to child abuse? Report child abuse cases to the authorities. We encourage everybody who suspects a case of abuse to report them to your local SAPS and within our society to the local CPT. That being said, the local legal authorities takes precedence over the CPO and any investigation. So we allow that to continue first. Form and maintain a child protection team. We have that in every temple in South Africa. Ensure that your temple follows the screening procedures. Krsangi Radhe mentioned that. You may not be aware, but any new visitor that comes into South Africa, they are screened for child abuse. If there are any cases against them, they will not get a CPO clearance. You need a CPO clearance to bring a new preacher into our yatra, as well as any new temple devotee. They have to go through a screening process. This is happening in the background. Right? Institute policies that encourage child protection. Okay. The importance of child protection in ISKCON. Being the most vulnerable members of our society, children require the assistance and protection from adults they trust. They are dependent on the adults who both protect them physically and emotionally. Child protection is not just an act of compassion, but it serves to protect the souls entrusted unto us to grow in their Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada says here, and many of you are familiar about this quote, where children are given to us by Krishna. They are Vaishnavas, and we must be very careful to protect them. They are not ordinary children. They are Vaikuntha children. And we are very fortunate we can give them a chance to advance further in Krishna consciousness. That is a great responsibility. Do not neglect it or be confused. Your duty is very clear. What do we do as a CPO? One is we engage in education, the Sunday school. Many of you parents may have had your children come home where they are being educated on the different Shri Shri Radharanath ki jai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Ke Govardhana ki jai. They are educated on the different forms of abuse and where to seek care. There's also review panels where we conduct investigations where there are cases of abuse within ISKCON. Okay. Srila Prabhupada here, another morning walk, where he says, referring to children and devotees, basically devotees put on our tilak, we come with our Vaishnav dress, and we dress up nicely for the deity. But because of their father, mother, neither do not know how to take care of the children, but they come to us. So we should take care of the children if we are encouraging the family members to neglect their household duties. There's a ring of responsibility where we have a circle. We have that in different cultures. We're familiar with them, where each member of society is responsible for looking after the children. The first ring, which is closest to a child, is the family. Then we have the community, which translates into our local ISKCON community. We have institutions, which is the local child protection teams, and we have national rings of protection around the children. In ISKCON, it is the National Director of CPO, and we have the International CPO Office and our GBC. So it is a ring of protection that we provide to the children within ISKCON and within societies. Srila Prabhupada says here to Hayagriva, please take care of the children. They are our future hopes, and the adolescent age is the most dangerous age. It is the turning point of one's life. In this age, if you take care of the children, surely they will come out first-class Krishna conscious. I was having a discussion with some devotees the other day, and we were talking about children that are loitering around our property. And Brihad Bhagavata Maharaj is very particular about that. It is our duty as a society to engage children. Not that we have children that are playing outside and not being engaged. Children like to mimic what we do. If we are engaged in devotional service, preparing flower petals for the flower abhishek, you can have your child with you being engaged in that devotional service. If you are serving Vaishnavas in your home and you engage your child in teaching them how to worship the deities at home, how to serve the devotees, you inculcate a mood of devotional service within them. Not that if you are serving devotees, children are shunned and they are not to partake in whatever service that you are doing. That is not giving them and providing them a good example. So each one of us have a responsibility. It is a collective responsibility. It's not only the responsibility of the temple president or the child protection team members or my responsibility. It is each and every one of our responsibility to gather a child that you see around, to bring them to be engaged in devotional service. We went to Malaysia once, and our children were in the class, and we were just visiting the Sunday class, and they have Sunday school classes. And I had a devotee come up to me to ask us, would your kids like to participate in the Sunday class so you can listen to the Sunday class uninterrupted, and we will also take them through different lectures. They can color, and we have a whole activities planned for them. So in that community, there is that culture that is created to engage all children, because we know some children don't like to sit and listen to an hour class. Okay? So many children are coming, very fortunate children from beginning of Christian, of taking birth from such a father and mother. So all these children should be taken care of very nicely. Oh yes. Right? Prabhupada referring to looking after children. Then we speak about Vaishnav Aparad. Right? I saw this nice picture where Vaishnav Aparad is depicted as a royal road to hell. And Vaishnav Aparad, who is a Vaishnava? Is it the sannyasi in your temple, the temple president, or the brahmana? Is that only a Vaishnava? No. A Vaishnava is anybody who chants the holy name of the Lord. It is the child in your home. It is your spouse. And I say spouse, and I don't just say wife or husband. It is your spouse in that home environment. We have to guard against Vaishnava aparad because that is a sure way of destroying our Bhakti Lata beach. Right? Srila Prabhupada says here in Srimad Bhagavatam, similarly, you may do anything very nicely, but if you commit offense at the feet of a pure Vaishnav or Vaishnava aparad, because Krishna is very angry, Dvivasta, those who are envious upon a Vaishnava and Vishnu, the more dangerous position is to be envious of a Vaishnava. Vishnu aparad can be excused. God is very kind, but he never excuses Vaishnava aparad. Right? So child abuse, domestic violence, all of these things, gender-based violence, all of these are a form of Vaishnava aparad. And Krishna will not forgive you. We may come and we may sit here, dress up as a Vaishnava, and think that nobody is going to know what's happening within our own homes. But Krishna sees everything. And he is witness to that Vaishnava aparad within your home. And he does not excuse anyone who commits Vaishnava aparad. Just like if a man becomes angry, so somebody tries to satisfy him. Just like somebody. Sometimes our small child becomes angry and cries very loudly, and the parents satisfy. My dear boy, you are so nice. Why are you crying? You can take this just to pacify. Similarly, when Nishingadev became angry for the killing, and when he was angry for the mistreatment of Prahlad Maharaj, he was very angry, and it was very difficult to pacify him, even when Hiranyakashipu was killed, just because he tormented his dear devotee Prahlad Maharaj. Therefore, he was very, very angry. Vaishnava aparad. If anyone offends a Vaishnava, a pure devotee of Krishna, he is the greatest offender, and Krishna never excuses. If you insult his pure devotee, the devotee may excuse, but Krishna won't. That is Krishna's possession. Be careful. Here, what is the of Vaishnava aparad? And the bottom line is that we commit Vaishnava aparad when we take non-devotee association of karmis. And who are the non-devotees association? It can be either the jnanis, karmis, so mundane scholars, fruitive workers, yogis, demigod worshippers, dry logicians, atheists, and sense enjoyers. And if we take association of the opposite sex, not just women, engaging frivolously with the opposite sex. If we have attachment to assets, they're subtle and gross material attachments, right? If we have prejudices, all of these things, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that this is non-devotee association. And by engaging in non-devotee association, this brings up the propensity to commit Vaishnava aparad on different levels. And we should guard against these non-devotee association that we take. Yes, we have to all go out into the material world. We all have to be in a work environment and associate with karmis. But you have to be careful about the amount of association that you take. And the only way that you can protect yourself is by strengthening your own sadhana so that you are able to give association rather than take that non-devotee association. The protection of children gives the human form of life its best chance to prepare the way of liberty from material bondage. I just wanted to end on that slide. So stop the abuse, pretty please. Thank you. Questions? Very heavy. I'm sorry to be a little damper on everyone's spirits for a Sunday class. Smita Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Krsangi Radhe and Karunamayi Mataji for speaking on a very, very important topic. Hare Krishna. For a healthy society, we need to consider all of these very, very important aspects, and we should not shy away from them because it's all about the honest communication. And you both are doing a wonderful service. You mentioned different categories of people that may impact somebody to become offensive and But there is a nature, right? Even if somebody is not associated with any of these, some people just have a nature of being aggressive and antagonistic and so on. So it might not be the association, it might just be their nature. So we find that also even in devotee circles, somebody may have that nature. So, how do you then deal with that kind of situation?
Thank you, Prabhu. I think Devadeva and I always have this conversation. One of the offenses to the holy name is to consider the chanting of the holy name to be an imagination. And we all go through the process of the Maha Mantra, the chanting of the holy name. And we need to have faith that this process will purify one's natures. That being said, this whole ring of protection that we have, the society that we have here, this is where we can utilize these check mechanisms to sort of sandpaper down brash natures, right? And how do we do that? If we see a devotee and we see the signs that this devotee has an aggressive nature, they are short-tempered, you've been in their association and you see that they are abusive, then your duty as a devotee is, one, to address that individual and try and see if you can address the root cause of that nature. And once that need, you feel that you aren't able to do that, then the devotee should seek professional help. We do have people that have bipolar disorders. There are actual medical conditions where it causes some people to be very aggressive. And they may not need just Shastra or devotee association or sadhu sangha to be able to get them out of that. What they will need is medical help. So yes, you have devotees' natures or inclinations, but at the same time, those natures and inclinations are molded. Like as if people do pottery, you have this little piece of sand or clay that they mold into something. And just as the nature of that clay is supposed to be soft and malleable, the nature of every living entity, they can be molded and into something that you want. So to be able to sandpaper down one's abusive natures, one requires a community effort. We have the process of that Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has provided us with, which at the basis of it is that we should be chanting the holy name congregationally, engaging in devotional service, sadhu sangha. 95% or even more of our Krishna consciousness is based on sadhu sangha. And if we are all together associating with devotees nicely, then these natures that we have will be able to be watered down. That's why I say ISKCON is like a washing machine. We throw in all our dirty linen with our baggage, and throughout this purificatory process, we are able to come out clean. That's what we hope for.
Thank you, Karunamayi. You have a lot of faith in the practice of Krishna consciousness with that advice. But in the meantime, that aggressive nature is causing harm to the child or the wife or the husband. So there should be we should also be advising that there is the criminal action case.
Hare Krishna, Smita Krishna Prabhu. I was also just going to address that part of it. Thank you for raising it. I think also that, yes, Karunamayi mentioned the spiritual aspect of it, but on a more day-to-day actionable steps, that professional help is needed. Oftentimes, when we go through these cases and we go through this long-term abuse or exposure to abuse, as we discussed earlier, it sometimes becomes a norm and we get used to it. It becomes like daily life. But seeking that professional help. And if you feel that you are watching this going on somewhere else and it's not you, but you can, when you're out of that situation, you see things more clearly, then it's our duty as well, as Karuna said, it's that ring, right? It's that circle, that community circle, to take the step forward and assist that person in getting professional help. We have our local authorities, we mentioned our criminal acts, we mentioned our South African Police Service, but also psychological help is so often needed. The support of the victim, I don't like using that word loosely, but the person who's going through the problem, and remember, the abuser as well also needs to deal with that aggression, with those emotions, and with the baggage that they are carrying. So both parties equally need help, and it's our duty to actually offer some sort of professional help in those circumstances as well. So I hope that helps just holistically package that answer. Are there any other questions, comments? Yes, there you. Yes, sure. Please, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I'm usually not one to speak like this, but but yeah, with the sensitivities that are associated with this topic at hand, you'd find a lot of pertinent issues that address men in society, and that's what I'd like to represent in this part of my comment to you. And I think we should congratulate Mataji's for taking the stand, and the reason why I'm doing this, I'm saying it, is because I've been associated with something very similar in the recent past, and it's the trauma that's associated with it, especially if you're an onlooker. It's not the easiest thing to deal with, especially if you have a heart. That's something that's the, and being through many episodes in it, it sort of molds you to then see, you have to become better in your situation as a Prabhu or a man, and also someone who's an onlooker trying to be a support in terms of the role. I mean, I may be a little lost for words because it's really traumatic, when you observe such a thing, especially when you're in it up front, and it really, really, really disturbs you. So I'm really, first of all, very appreciative of the fact that this awareness is being made. And I think also from another spiritual circumstance where I'm coming from, where there was a sensitivity that's also associated, in my circle, and I think you'll understand and appreciate that as well. So in terms of addressing that, we as Prabhus have to become very, very cognizant of who we're dealing with in terms of Mataji and the children that are next to us. And if we're in a spouse or an intimate relationship, molding that person next to us is very important, which then leads to better offspring. And as you were highlighting, the offspring, then they do not become challenged Krishna consciously or become adverse to us. We are ambassadors for Srila Prabhupada. And the main point is that, being that ambassadors, we have to reflect that characteristic. And this is something that struck me deeply. So Bhagavad Gita mentions Vidya Vinaya Sampanya Brahmana Gavanya Hastani. And this is you're speaking about this. This is the main principal point. That Prabhupada says Vaishnavas are automatically Brahmanas. And Brahmanas are associated, they're the head of society. And that economity that we're supposed to dissipate starts here. So thank you so much, Mataji. I mean, I would like to say more, of course, but the thing is, it's such a broad topic. And it sort of helped me, in the nutshell, trying to deal with this situation. And I'm very proud of you too. Thank you so much. And I think all the Matajis can take cue from this, and even the Prabhus, that you are not alone in this, in this situation. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. And, sharing in forums like this, perhaps it's just sparking something that we should have breakaway sessions. We should have more discussions in smaller groups. And maybe it's something to look into next year, where we could advertise different topics. You could come forward, chat to Karunamayi, myself, share your thoughts around these topics. We'd want to assist. It's a lot of inner work, right? Always when there's abuse, there's some trauma happening within the person. And we look at the person who's being abused, but we don't look at the person who's abusing the person. And to just share one quick experience as well, recently I've had an personal experience where somebody spoke out to me very rudely, abruptly, in a moment of within 2 minutes of conversation. And at that point, I realized that it's that person who's carrying so much of trauma within that himself. And I took the step forward as a responsible person to say, well, this person needs help. It wasn't about me, but it was actually about getting help for that person. And I'm happy to say that steps were taken, and that person has now received the help that he needed to unpack the trauma that he's been carrying for so many years. So it's our responsibility to help each other. It's that community. So it's not always about being a victim, it's also just helping let go of that generational trauma, be ambassadors of Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON, and be a united family in Krishna consciousness. So on that note, I think we will conclude. Thank you all so much. We will now observe the Arti. Oh, there's some announcements. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Karunamayi.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Krsangi Radhe Mataji and Karunamayi Mataji. Certainly a heavy and sensitive discussion, but definitely profound and pertinent. And I'm sure this discussion has left a lot for us to introspect and reflect upon. Few announcement, devotees. So today's Love Feast Prasadam has been prepared by the Pakreni Namahata. Haribol. The Pakreni Namahata is led by his Rameshwar Prabhu. So big thank you to Rameshwar Prabhu and his team. On this Friday, the 8th of December, is Ekadasi. So enjoy the blissful Ekadasi Vrat and happy fasting to you. We'll continue to observe Aarti and Kirtan and Prasadam, which will be served in the white marquee at the bottom. You may rise for Aarti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody, please clap your hands. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He Govinda, He Gopal, Keshav Madhav Deen Dayal. He Govinda, He Gopal, Keshav Madhav Deen Dayal. दीन दयाल प्रभु, दीन दयाल प्रभु, दीन दयाल. दीन दयाल प्रभु, दीन दयाल प्रभु, दीन दयाल. हे गोविंदा, हे गोपाल, केशव माधव, दीन दयाल. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Radhanat Radha, Radhanat Radhe. Jaya Radha, Radhanat Radha, Radhanat Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gora Hari, Jaya Gora Hari, Gora Hari, Jaya Gora Hari. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Everybody please put your hands in the air. Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Everybody, Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Namaste Narashringaya, Namaste Narashringaya, Praladhalad Dahine, हिरण्यकाशी पूर्वक्षः श्रीलङ्कानकालाहे धीतो नरसिंह पर तो नरसिंह यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह बाह्ये नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह बाह्ये नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह नरशृङ्गामदिं शरणं प्रपदे नरशृङ्गामदिं शरणं प्रपदे दव करकमलवरेण कमद्भुतशृङ्गा दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवदेता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे वकर कमलवरेण जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज श्री श्री लक्ष्मण सिंह देव भगवान की प्रहलाद महाराज की गौर प्रेमानंदे
His Divine Grace, Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Brahma Parivraja Acharya Stotra His Divine Grace,